Tell if we are live. Okay. So, hello everyone. Yes. So, hello everyone. Today we have a session on Databricks with Vishwash, and we will be having the amazing session with on Databricks. So, we- I request Vishwash to start with our session.
Yeah, sure. Guys, don't get this fancy term like this is Databricks and what is it and what's it and what's not it and things like that. See, industry has seen a lot of optimizations. So right now I'll be sharing my screen and I'll be giving a quick intro about me and who I am, what I am, and things like that. So I'm just a computer science enthusiast, just like you all. Like, I'm an EC grad. To be very frank, I'm an EC grad, and I talk data to some extent. I think I'm sharing my screen now. Yep, it's visible. So
Yes,
right
yes.
now, it's like I'm Vishwas Narayan. I'm just a technician. I just love some things that I want to do, and this is where you can contact me and you can start learning something. He's one of my heroes, and I do have a YouTube channel which is actually focused more on the podcast with the industry experts like cloud advocates. I think a lot of solution architects, a lot of architects, software architects, and the things like that. So that's where my introduction starts. And you can book a slot with me, like in a form of a webinar. Or else, if you want something to be mentored, just go here. This is my website. Just go here, click on some links, just find something new. Okay, fine.
And
Then
I would say that please check Vishwash YouTube channel. I have also checked it. It's really amazing content he's putting. So please check that
yeah,
out.
I just do podcasts with some industrial folks. That's it. So
Yeah.
industry oriented folks, and also some academicians also. So that's what I do. So my journey in the Databricks started as an 100 days of Azure challenge where I had a free pass and I had to spend it. So what I started doing was I just went to the Databricks console and I had a community version of it. This is my community version. Like I can share you the link. Anybody can go and do a real time hands on. I'm not even joking. You guys can just go on and just start doing your hands on with the Databricks. And I'll come in detail about what is this Databricks and everything. But let me just give you an introduction, okay? So sorry for my laziness. I just did it. This will be there on my YouTube channel, so don't worry about that. And I'll just give you a quick intro on like what it is all about. Onyx runtime, just leave it. So anytime that you want to research to production, that's where ML models play a picture. Like I can say like I'm a developer and I want to implement something. I can use some services like Azure Cognitive Services, Azure Web Apps, and things like that. But every step has its own dilemma. Like there is a process for data collection. There are sources for it. Where do you get it? What do you do with the data sets that you have and the things like that? Then later comes the training part. You have cleaned the data set, collected the data set, and what next? Then later you have to do a model conversion, and later you have to infer and deploy the model. And right now, you test it as a test bench code and you feel like, okay, we are getting a lot of inferences. Then what you do is you take the h5 pmml pickle or any file that you get and you deploy it and you complete this cycle of collection of data, deployment of data, and everything. So this is where everything comes in this pipeline of building something as an insight from data. What as a data scientist or as a person who is an enthusiast in the world of data science does is they just go there, they just communicate with the SMEs, subject matter experts. They look for what should be the trainable parameters, what should not be the non-trainable parameters. If this looks like a jargon, sorry for it, folks. Like this is not anything fancy. This is what we do every single day. Like you can go to the FAQs of the Databricks and you can literally start learning what it is all about. And So now every time you hear something called a spim, okay, I think I can share one podcast that I did with a person. His name is Scott Taylor, an amazing professional in the world of data science. He has never been trained professionally in the world of data science or something, but a very influential person in the world of data science. I think he talks a lot of insights from the data set. Like, there is no jargons of saying that, okay, we are going to have this, we are going to have that, and you guys can just go on and get this things going. There is PIM in data science. PIM is basically product information management, where you have a product and how is everything being facilitated for its upscalable growth in terms of fetching money, in terms of reaching out to more customers. And there's DAM in there. DAM is something like you have data assisted management model where you have a product and you start collecting the data. Just keep as simple as that. If possible, make notes of whatever I am saying. Just go back, study about it, and then go and start with your data science hustle. That's no big deal. And every time, all these kind of models, DDL, DML, there are development process which are like behavior driven, test driven development, and things like that. So it's very simple. You just go here, create a compute cluster, which was, oh, before that, I need to give a brief overview of what this entire Databricks is. So as soon as you log in for this community.cloud.databricks.com, you'll be thrown to this page where you will be having an access to all the things like user setting, admin settings, and everything. And this is actually a free version of it. You are actually getting a 15 gigs of memory and you can start working with it, and you can create your own notebooks like this. And those of you who are thinking of learning Scala, this is the best place where you can go and learn Scala. And let me just give you a brief introduction about this environment. What it does, I'll say in the later part. What it is, I'll be saying it in the here. So right now, since I'm in a free tier, there is something called as data science and engineering right now. And as soon as you upgrade it, there will be something called as machine learning. And there is also a wonderful feature called as ML Flow. What this ML Flow does to the world of data science is, it basically, the time which was separated in order to deploy a model and also giving the presentations, right, it was ended because of the Databricks effective compute, because that's where you optimize the compute for each and every chunks and pieces of the data set. And this is also making sure that you have all the installation done. You don't have to go for the hassle of installation of Spark, PySpark, or else anything. So let me just go through what is this workspace. There are many workspaces which come in the form of a notebook form factor. So you guys can go there, check it out. And recents, you can check it here and you can search for whatever the workspace that you have done. So that data is something which we all care. Tomorrow, if I say that I'm a $1 billion company and every second a customer in my database is producing close to around 4 kilobytes of data sets, probably that might be very menial. But remember, when you are talking in terms of a company which is in that scale of like hundreds and thousands of customers, and there is calls there's a huge terabytes and petabytes of data which is being generated. So everything what you throw in the Databricks is a table. So what you do is, you have two options. One is upload file as it is. You can go here, you can click on this option, and you can go to some data set that you have now, where I've downloaded a lot of data sets. And I think data set, I can do that. And now the magic of this is, this automatically will generate an UI or a table by if you had selected a compute, I'll show you how to select a compute and things like that. But to me, dataset is something which is more unique. But if you click on this, everything will be done. The file system, you don't have to go through the hassle of going through this file system. Why is it not being generated? What is happening and everything is being generated. You just need to just do the shift run, create and compute cluster and go on with it. And this is a brief overview of what it is and all the features exactly similar to your Jupyter notebook. So don't worry about it. I'll also show it in Jupyter notebook how the Spark environment is working. And oh, I don't have to restart you since I ran it like probably 15 minutes before. I can actually show you the outputs as it is. I would just say don't go for hefty data sets in the beginning of your learning. What you have to do is you have to start with the data frames which are available. There are actually many data sets which are available in this, but I would suggest pandas data frame. Data frame is here. You guys can go there. You guys can check out how to create a data frame, what it is, how it is, and it's a list, and it's also a set of dictionaries that you just define in order to get this data frames generated. Nothing complex. Just make sure that you know what you're doing and move ahead with it, and it makes your life easier. It's as simple as that. That's what I did even in the time also. I'll clear off this. So now there are other options like S3. This is very unique in terms of development. Like I'll say you how. And AWS is supported in all the cloud platforms like Azure, AWS, and GCP. And now, if you just write something called as an Databricks, there comes a data pipeline where when I talked about this production system where you have to deploy hundreds and hundreds of model at the same time, all of this comes into the picture, and all of this is where you are actually leveraging the features of what is being programmed from the Amazon and what is required from you. So this is where it is, and so on with it. Let's just go and create some compute, and I'll show you how to create some compute also. What I can do is create a compute cluster because this was actually taking me a lot of time. This was Narayan demo, and there are this is where the DBU and all these things comes into the picture. Alt and down. This was Narayan demo compute. Fine. And this is where you take the leverage of everything that you're doing. So right now, since I am in an open sourced version of it, but like I need to have a lot and lot of other access also. So I don't have such a crazy requirement where I have to go and run this many things. So what I do is I've chosen a standard premium of like 14 gigs and 4 cores with zero point 0.7 DBUs. I'll say what is DBU in Databricks. Databricks unit. That is where your compute is being segregated. So I'll show you one. This is actually the entire notebook that I really wanted to generate for this Spark notebook. So this installation is around like probably 4.5 gigs. I'm not even joking. This was around 4.5 gigs. And if you want to have such a kind of an FT file system and you don't want to mess around with the fact that, okay, there is something which is running and you don't want it, the Databricks unit comes into the picture. And if you go for the pricing and the plan of it, uh, you guys will get to know what's the actual way in which it is priced. You can't complain that it is being priced that much. It is priced as it is. So never complain about it. So any question, people, just ask me any question if you have. If not, we'll just continue with that. So after this compute cluster, fine. So now everything has been written. Okay, I've chosen a package which is there. And what I have to do is, I'll show you what. Mm, So this is where this Apache Spark RDD, this is where RDD comes into the picture. in Spark. Spark. It's this resilient distributed data sets where it's like everything is not that redundant here. Everything has a value here, and every computer has its own features. So right now, this is what you do. So at every time where you are messing around with the data, you want something to be stagnant, and all the installation will be done from the Databricks. So now this creating compute cluster will also take some time, and it's actually an absolute way in which you can never really rely on these kind of system. Like I'm saying, you if you are in an upgraded version, you're well and good, you can start doing anything. If you're not in that, don't touch it. You can use your entire notebook infrastructure that you have. So speaking of all these theories and all these things that I did, I think it's time for me to stop this theory and I have to go for some more practical aspects of it. So, what your PySpark is basically leveraging a language with a database. So, what I showed as an S3 in here, I think probably I should show you the S3 bucket, how it's being done and what it is. Since I'm in a free tier, I think probably there is nothing installed now and there's nothing here. This is what S3 bucket will look like. There is SageMaker Studio. That's what I used last time, and where I can download any amount of data sets, where I can really upload anything. Like now, I want to upload and file. What I do is add file. Just go here, upload some. I can say, okay, this is only 8 KB. Just upload it and keep it there. Done with it. And basically, don't forget to remove it afterwards, and it's costly by the way. And what you have to do is you have to leverage all these things. So everything which you have to do in a data SQL has been redundant here. Like you don't have to do it explicitly. Everything is done with a Python data frame and things like that. That's where I always insist all the newbies to try with the PySpark SQL data set and things like that. So PySpark SQL Spark session has been called. That means a Spark session gets created at one given point and it will start working. So let me just restart it, and it will take a lot of time. By the way, it will take a lot of time. So let's not do much of an hassle for it. So we have the outputs. So now columns are something which are very very unique. Columns are like this. They're like horizontal data sets, like they are just with a comma, and that's where you always leverage it. And all these are always given to you. So there is one set of data set that you are creating, and how many instances or how many stereotypes of it. So now I can't leave, sorry for it, because if I leave it, it will just go to somewhere else. But let me just think of it later part. And now this is where your RDD comes into the picture, where you are actually taking the redundancy of every data context that you're building. That this is what I call a context. Since your data breaks, fine. I think there's a cluster which is already created, but it got terminated. Why? Fine, it's fine because all these things, right? It takes a lot of time to deploy, and yeah, let's not waste it. Let's just detached mode. I'll just run it if possible. If it starts working, good and fine. If not, let's just move ahead. Launch and run. It's going to take time for launching it. So that's where I made sure that I download this and I keep it in a binder and things like that. So if you go here, whatever you are seeing here will be in a form of an UI and you can start working with it. So this is where RDD comes into the picture. Where is this RDD? I think I searched it somewhere else. So fine, let's not worry about it. So RDD is where you are basically taking a cluster of the data set and you are manipulating and things like that. So the Spark session, which was on examples.com and things like that, have come here and everything. I actually insist you guys to not do anything beyond what documentation says. That is this, not this. Where is that? I think this is the one. This is the one where you are actually going and getting to know what is this, what is that. Get moving. That's it. That's what I say. Like this was actually there in the examples, and issues are there. What to be done. Everything you will get to know. And since I was always in example mode, and I just wanted to do an example. So whatever I typed here as an SQL, Python, Scala, R. These are the four languages which are supported in Databricks, and it came as an data frame format. So RDD was now converted into a data frame format, and everything is a column and the row now. So this is easy for an visualization. Like you can probably throw it inside a Tableau, and you can start getting some more insights about it. Your schema is something which is very unique. I'll say you why. It's like your database has a schema. That means it says what's the flow of this entire data set inside this compute cluster, or else what's the flow of this entire data set in terms of the leveraging process of like what is happening here, what is happening there. And this is where your schema comes into the picture, and where you know, okay, it's in a root folder, a root directory, and it's just flowing in as a string. And this is one row that I'm talking about. That means the first row has all the string data set, and the second row will also be a string data set, because that's how it default converts it and it starts storing it. Since I gave it as a string, that's where it comes up. And now since it stopped running because it's a lot of things that I was doing, and this is where the schema comes and plays a major role, and this is where your schema will make a huge difference when you are in, that's what I told, right, petabyte scale of data set. This is where all the data set starts making a lot of insights for you. And it's very simple to install. Just do pip install PySpark. You're good to go with anything that you're running. All right, then everything has been run here, so let's just move on and run with that. All right, PySpark notebook is running. I can show you that. That's no big deal. If it gets completed in this stipulated time. So, oh, it's already 23. So let's just move on with it. So of course you guys know what is this lambda thing, what we are running here. Lambda in Python. This is like a one code format. Like you have to just use it, and you have to leverage it for all your needs. Like you just initialize one variable and you start drawing some functions over it. This is where your lambda comes into the picture, and what has to be done, what should not be done has to be known here. So this is where every insight plays a major role, and your raw data has been mapped in such a way that and variable has its own function, and it starts deriving the insights out of it. So where is this data is here. So whatever I gave here has been mapped to one instance, and it starts making insights out of it. So I think what I can do is I can rerun this. I don't know why is this kernel not starting, because it's too big for me to understand it is. So I just thought of okay, asking you guys what it is. Fine guys. All right, then let's just upload a data set probably. Let's just upload a data set and look for what it is. I think that will give a lot of insights for you, because whatever I did on the Databricks platform, it took a lot of time for me, and it takes a lot of time to restart that kernel. That's where I took this step. And yes, this has been generated, and I think I can go here and I can start writing some notebooks. And wait, what I can do is I don't have to go for a workspace. Okay, fine. Let's just move on with this. So new notebook, Python, Vishwas, Narayan. So I didn't want to waste any time, so I took this step and done. I think this compute cluster is running now, so I need not have to worry about it. Where is this repo? Oh my god. Funny part, it's running. So I think I can show you guys what is this notebook, and oh, this is taking a lot of time. Then let me just go on to my Jupyter notebook and upload it. Oh, sorry, folks. My bad, because wanted to. We'll see. I will just stop my share screen for a while. I just wanted to look for like where is that notebook that I downloaded from that.
Yes, Vishwash.
Wait, it's here. So let's not waste time. In the downloads folder, this PC downloads CMD.
Until then, folks, you can check all the links. We have Vishwash have already sent that all the Databricks content.
Yeah, you guys can actually look for what is there, and you guys can look for what is not there also. So window and wait, I think lot of things running on my system. I'm very sorry, folks. This happens to me every time. A lot of things
No.
just pops up all of the sudden in my life, and hopefully doesn't affect me.
And I hope you all are learning. And we will be having more such series on Azure, Databricks with Vishwash in upcoming days on Let's Grow More Community and different others.
Yeah.
So do join that also. And you can still suggest us for the topic.
Yes. Takes a lot of time in my computer. I don't know why. Fine. Let's just move on with it. I think I'm sharing my screen. I think you guys can see it. See what I'm sharing right now. I think.
Vishwash, your screen is not.
Oh, wait. I think it's hanging. Why is it hanging? My God.
Hemu, are you able to see Vishwash's screen? Means,
Yeah, if you are able to see my screen, just pop it, pop a
yeah,
notification.
now it's visible.
Now it's visible, right?
Right.
I think I shared a window. Fine, that I'll share my task. I don't know, man. Where is this going on? This, all these processors and everything takes a lot of time. Oh, lot of things. Let me just do one thing. I'll clear all of my screen. Sorry for my. Oh, I have lot open, man. Sorry, lot of things opened in my screen. This, that. Need to level. Oh, God. Fine. So this is closed. Sorry for it, folks. Sorry for it. I will never do this once again. Thanks. All right. So now what I can do is I'll show you some of the alternatives for your pandas or Spark. So you guys can think about like, okay, this is what is happening in your entire data science world. Like there are frameworks which are being used, so you should also learn to know how to leverage that. And Dask is something which is like very big UI based one, so you guys can start working on it. And also Wax is something which people don't prefer in the industry, because I'll say why. Because I had an on-click optimization thing, like we had an oddjar data, we had some coordinates and things like that. Wax didn't actually support that sort of a JSON. Like it never supported that sort of a JSON, and we could not leverage. Okay, what is happening at all? Like that's what we ended up like. We could not, and that's where that's where I say don't use Wax every time. Like, just close this. down the session. Is it? I'm very sorry, folks. If here, so wait. I think can cut it. Sorry for it, because a lot of things were open, and this data spark is very cumbersome sometimes in starting some sessions and things like that. And if you upgrade it to a modern version of it, you will get a cool version of this entire notebook, so you guys can start working on it. Wait, i can I think I can share my screen. Hmm, this is what I want, and rest I'll not share, because that's what I learned now. Stop screen share, share a window. Where is my window? Shows Narayana Databricks. Fine. Now it's visible, right? My Databricks.
Hemu, please.
Fine. Whatever was there in that notebook, I'll start explaining on the Databricks notebook itself. So now this compute cluster is running now, and the Spark job started running. Look at this. I can give you one more example here. And every time an sklearn has, there's a job lib which gets downloaded, right? This job lib is so important because all your data sets are not optimized for CPU or a GPU workload also. Like when it gets generated, it's not optimized for your CPUs and a GPU's workload. So serialization, parallelization, everything becomes a very big cumbersome process. And what you do is, I'll say you what this data set is. Jack and Jill 3636 was the budget of it. I don't know. I just gave out some random number. And the M is a genre of the movie. Like it's like a mediocre movie. So kind of a thing like that. And don't say me anything, because Robert Downey Jr. and a budget of like 42114 will be a mediocre genre or something. Like just go on with some number, and this is how your data set will be. And I think you guys can see my notebook, right? Is it visible? Hello?
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah, sure.
Your
What I did
Databricks
was,
screen.
yeah. What I did was, I took the PySpark ML types data sets, and I took the structure types, structured fields, string types, and integer types of data sets. What I started leveraging was your SQL data frame. This is what I really started doing. So what I took was, there was an entire list or a dictionary of events that I really want to map to, and I took some names. I had an ID, like what I have told is like, okay, Jack and Jill are two clues, and if it's a budget of like 36,636, it's a mediocre movie. And there is some instances of like integers where, there is a 300,000 as a budget, and there is an ID which is running, and this is what I did. So it's a mediocre movie and things like that, and that's what I actually did here. And if you go for some advanced version, what you can see is, I'll copy the same code and I'll paste it here, and I'll explain you what is happening here. So what I told about the schema in that notebook is what is being mapped here. And now if I go here, before going to the next one, I'll type this as a schema, and I'll type this as a schema. Oh, sorry, this is tab autocomplete is also supported in your all the things, so you guys can leverage it, right? So this is what it is. The schema is, now it's telling, okay, there is a structure type which is a list, and there is a structured field inside it. And what is it is a first clue that I get mapped here. This is what I did. The first clue, the second clue, and the third clue. And I didn't have, okay, Jack and Jill had no third clue. So what I did was, I mapped it. I wanted to show here that even if there is a void, that space will never be as an occupied one. What happens is, sometimes when you have tons and tons of data sets which is being streamed inside one data frame or something, it might get misplaced because probably there's an indexing issues, or probably there is something which is not working. That is fine. And what you do is you map it in such a way that you get to know what is the structure. What I told here as in schema has been done here for this big data set. And I think I can show you one more, which is like this. The same thing. John Gotti was somebody who is like, do you know he's one of the mobsters? John Gotti. And there's a movie on it. John Gotti. There's not Gotti, Gotti movie. And if you think about this movie, this is what I think. That it's a movie of a mobster and things like that. So what I did was I had to map some things, and Jane, Mary, Spidey, Homecoming. Okay, this is a love story, so I did this, and there are negative variables also considered here. And what I mapped here also was a negative variable. I took the same example and I started doing this. And what I'm doing here is, okay, now I had a schema. Now this is for a data frame of which is sitting on a database. Now I want it on an on-premises system. How can I leverage it? So this is where this pops up. And this is where you start mapping whatever you did here has been here. Whatever you did has been here. And now there is a DF, there's a data frame which is in a write mode. And if there is something written, there's an overwrite which is being written. And these are the generated versions of all your, what I can say, these are the generated file systems which are already there in your Spark. And this is where your read write format files go and sit. So now when you think of print schema, there will be a schema which will be printed. And what if I want to show a truncate? I don't want anything to be truncated, so false for it. So I did all false truncation, and I took a Spark SQL and I started mapping some of the other things there. So I thought of, okay, let's just make some salary as a budget. And I started putting in this as a salary greater than or equal to 0. And every time when you start mapping something here, what you do is you map something to another variable, or else there'll be another thing that will be popping up. So what I did was simple thing. So a Spark job is running. It's a job 3 now. There's a stage 3 and there's a job 4. There's a view. I'll show you what this view also does. And every time you call any Spark or any new data frame, there'll be a new instance or that will be running and saying that, hey, there is a new thing that is going on. There is a new thing that is being generated. And there are 20, 30 different jobs. Like every variable became a job here, and everything started popping up and saying that, okay, he has a pool of data set which is being mapped to this data frame, and that is what is being shown here. So this is where everything gets mapped and everything gets done. And this is where all the data sets that was okay being thrown off to be somebody like, okay, just come here and just play some tennis, just play some this thing. This is what happened here. They just came in, they sit in as one variable, and they'll not affect anything apart from this file system. So let me just go to ls list, LSLDR, this ganglia, logs, prelog, class, list. There are a lot of things which come up. So if you go to cd conf, there will be configuration, and if you go for cd event logs, you go to the cd and the event logs, see that it took 1.24 seconds to just get in. And what's that? That I have a cluster which is being running. And when I'm talking about like hundreds of data scientists working on one environment, all these kinds of logs helps you in actually getting to know, okay, who ran this instance here and who collected the data and where is this job running, and everything can be manipulated. And that's it, folks. this is just a brief introduction about the Databricks because it's too huge to explain it in an hour, but I made my humble attempt to make you guys understand what it is. So I think what I'll do is I'll go to the Google Drive. I'll upload that notebook. You guys can go there, fetch something out, and say that, okay, this is what you are working on. Fine. Then what next? You guys can download it. You guys can start working on it. I think I'll put it as a file and I'll share it to you guys so that you guys can start working on some of the data sets that have been thrown to you using Spark and SQL, or else try running the same old notebook by installing Spark onto your system. Probably it's going to give you a lot of insights about, like, okay, this is what he ran and this is what we are supposed to be doing. So yeah, we'll see. This is what I had, and any folks, any doubts that you have, please do reach out to me on LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever you see me, just reach out to me. I'll not give an editor access. I'll give a viewer access. You guys can have your own copy later on, and you guys can start working on here. So this is what it is. So now everything has been done. So what is it all about? So guys, any doubts, queries, questions, please free to ask me here. And also, I can say you one more instance where Databricks comes in handy. You can think of something like, okay, you're working on something as cool as a computer vision, but now you don't have the data set to actually generate it. So now what you do is you have a set of a numpy arrays as, okay, this is what is being generated, and you can actually generate your own data set using Ogly. Ogly is something which is there, and Facebook's research Ogly is something which is good. You guys can start generating any amount of data sets. And so now any amount of data sets can be done through this Ogly, and you guys can go and say, okay, this is what is Ogly doing. And they are augmenting the data. And now you have some hundreds of data sets, and now you want to map to something new. And what you do is you use something called as a Databricks, and you take the tables data set that is like ones and zeros, or the numbers, the integers, and what you do is map it out there. So I think that's it, folks, from my side, and thank you so much. And that's it. Hey, hey, Moo.
Actually, there was bit lagging in my. Wait a minute.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, there was bit lagging in my network. Sorry for that.
Sure.
But I have already listened about thank you so
Sure,
much.
Vinci. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. And reach out to me back anytime on LinkedIn, Twitter, or just book a slot for the mentorship or something. I can help you with anything. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for connecting with us for more sessions.
Sure.
Thank you.